I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and this is Equal Entertainment. The new Spider-Man movie won't be showing in several Middle Eastern movie theaters because of a transgender poster. The transgender poster shows up in one brief scene that reads, "Protect Trans Kids." It has sparked debate about whether character Gwen Stacy is trans. Empire Entertainment, the distributor for the film in the Middle East, has remained silent despite multiple requests for clarification. But major movie chains in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, and the UAE do not list Spider-Man on their websites. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has already brought in over $247 million in the U.S. Custodial workers are joining the picket lines in support of striking Hollywood writers. The movie and TV production shutdown from the WGA strike is affecting custodial staff and local restaurant workers, along with the carpenters who work on sets and truck drivers. Some custodial staff lost their jobs while productions are halted. Janitors affected by the strike are joining the writers on the picket line outside Sony Pictures and Amazon Studios in solidarity.
Writers are workers, just like a janitor is a worker, and we have to make sure that workers are being treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve in this country and in this city.
And if SAG-AFTRA doesn't strike a deal by June 30th, more productions could be stopped or delayed. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s iconic "I've Been to the Mountaintop" speech is the inspiration for a play at the Geffen Theater in Los Angeles. It's called The Mountaintop, and it's from P-Valley creator Katori Hall. It reimagines Dr. King's last night on Earth. Director Patricia McGregor tells me that the play shows the through lines of oppression from Dr. King's time through to today.
The play does an incredible job of drawing a through line from the past to the present and kind of elucidating how the fight is ongoing and how little has changed. I mean, that touches on violence against Black Americans by police and just, in general. And I wonder if you would talk a little bit about the importance of that through line and not letting go of the fact that that's always there, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I think the idea that hope and love don't live in a vacuum of the reality of deep obstacles and trauma and systemic oppression, that it's not like we're just out here, throwing flowers of love and hope, that it allows for the audience to look at, both in that time and in the times up until today, some of the deep setbacks and some of the work that needs to be done. There's a line in there that's Canaan is calling, that there's an idea that there is a thing that could happen that's just out of our reach. But if we do the work, it's not going to happen if we don't do the work. And there have been many setbacks that are actually trying to dispirit people that reality is even possible. So I think the show does a really great job in saying there is hope, there is love that should be the fuel for this world, but there are deep intentional obstacles, and we have to be awake to that, and we have to do the work in order to move forward to that world that we want.
The Biden administration hosted another movie night, this time celebrating the first Latino American-led film to be shown at the White House. President Biden invited director Eva Longoria to the White House for a screening of Flamin Hot on the South Lawn. The film tells the inspiring story of Richard Montañez, a Mexican-American janitor at Frito-Lay. Montañez pitched the idea of adding authentic Mexican spice to the cheesy coating of the company's snack. President Biden emphasized the theme of courage and reflected on the sacrifices made by immigrants.
When I think about tonight's movie, I think about courage. So many of you, your ancestors, left behind all that they knew to start a new life in the United States. A nation that's more than just a place. We're unique in all of history, America. America is not based on ethnicity or religion, or we're founded on an idea.
I love Flamin Hot's message of family and community, and Eva Longoria and I talked about how Richard Montañez handled racism and classism with grace.
And then, Eva, I really love the way the film, Richard was kept down by systems, by anti-Latino sentiment, and he rose above this. So there's that piece of it, but then there's also this idea of community and how they all looked out for each other. And that's so important in all kinds of communities. And I wonder, this is incredible, the distribution piece of it toward the end of the film. I loved it. So would you talk a little bit about the role of community in kind of overcoming systems of oppression?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to make a love letter to the Latino community. If you look historically at movies that have been made about us and by us, it's been like 20 years. So if the only thing you see in the media that Hollywood produces is Narcos, like that educates you about our community. And that's not the community I know. Like my community is beautiful and full of amazing human beings that are kind and compassionate and caring and family and faith oriented. And I was like, wouldn't it be great to see the Latino community in a non-stereotypical way? And we wanted to do that in every aspect. With the cholos and the gangbangers, we humanized them, we made them complex. The storyline of Tony dealing drugs for his mom having chemo, that's a true story. Yeah. One of the cholos told us that story. He's like, yeah, the only reason I dealt drugs back in the day is because my mom had chemo. You're like, oh. So it was a story of survival. I remember one of the first times I sat with Richard, I was like, okay, so why did you choose to be in a gang? And he looked at me like I was crazy. He goes, what do you mean choose? Yeah. Like, I didn't have a choice. It's surviving. And so to be able to set the table for people who are not aware of the Chicano experience, not aware that, like, we have police discrimination, we have a lot of the same societal issues that other people of color face. I wanted to be able to show that, and not be a history lesson, but to show, like, these are the issues we face. But the biggest lesson was, and look how this man handled that. Yeah. He handled and faced classism and racism with grace and dignity. And I think people look at Richard, that's why they're so inspired. They're like, wow, I can't believe he handled that situation that way. I remember Richard, we had it in the script at one point where Richard said he was mopping and a guy just spit gum right where he was mopping. And I said, what'd you do? He goes, I picked up the gum. That was my job. Like he was like, so full of grace. There's not a better word. It was like it didn't bother him. He goes, that person's view of me is not my view of myself.
I really love those pieces where we get Richard's point of view in his head, how he thinks it should go, which to me really kind of telegraphs what a dreamer would be thinking, and it really gets to who he is. So would you talk about those moments a little bit, please?
Yeah, it's so funny that you say a dreamer, because it was those fantasy sequences are like anything's possible, right? Like that, it gave us this creative liberty to go like, we could beat somebody up, let's do that, we can do that. Like it was like limitless. But the original script wasn't in his point of view. So when we brought Linda Chavez on, I'd already gone down a rabbit hole of Richard's speeches, his appearances. I read both of his books. I was like, I love his voice. He has such a fun tone, because the real Richard is really funny, but very serious, and he's not educated, but man, is he smart. He's charming, but he's a little dangerous looking. You're like, he's all these things. I said the movie has to be in his voice, and they're like, what do you mean? I was like, no, literally his voice. He's going to speak through the whole thing. And once we decided that it was going to be in his point of view, it was anything goes.
Flamin Hot is streaming now on Hulu, and it's best served with a bag of those famous spicy Cheetos. The Advocate Channel, Equal Pride, and Out Magazine are joining with iHeartMedia and Procter & Gamble for one of the biggest Pride celebrations online. Can't Cancel Pride 2023 is hosted by Jojo Siwa, with performances from Brandi Carlile, Adam Lambert, Big Frida, Ciara, Billy Porter, Fletcher, Haley Kiyoko, and more. Can't Cancel Pride is streaming now on AdvocateChannel.com, or you can watch on your smart TV by downloading the Advocate Channel's app on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, or Fire TV. You can watch the Advocate Channel live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate Channel, I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and thank you for watching.